Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, call hello Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rikakwadash. Double honors once again go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders, Great Millstone. This is Naaman with the DC camp. And lo and behold, what do we have here? Lynching is now a federal crime. Good luck teaching kids why. Exactly. Because as you know by now, if you don't, I'm going to tell you. They've got this thing called critical race theory. All right? And that's just this devil, these so-called white people, who are the nation of Edom in the scriptures. They feel guilty. They spent all this time, since the time of Columbus, discovering the so-called New World, which we know is a bunch of bullshit. They spent all this time building up this image of themselves as being pious. You know, the world can't exist without them. This type of mentality. Yeah, the so-called white man, the wicked, according to the scriptures. And his track record, by the way, who evidently a lot of you refuse to admit. The evidence is out there. You refuse to acknowledge it. The world has up until now, because really the only people that were getting screwed was us. Everybody else is making money at our expense. But now, since he's been screwing you over, oh well. He's the worst thing in the world now. So that's why I say fuck you to the rest of the world. On some Psalms 83 shit. Anyway, back to this. So they passed an anti-lynching bill after all this time. It's a federal crime now. I believe they did something like this in the 40s, but like, who paid attention to it? I don't think it passed. Maybe, But in any case, the people that needed the protection the most, you give the least attention to. Why? Because they don't give a fuck. This is all, even this, it's all posturing. All right. My point being, and yes, you should be angry, because everybody knows the story of Emmett Till. All right, these are the pictures of his mother and himself. How he went down from Chicago into Mississippi. You know, people tried to tell him, hey, it's a whole different world. Be on your P's and Q's. But that didn't help much, because this lying ass bitch, all right, lied on him and said that, he offended her in some way. So, the so-called good old red-blooded American husband of hers, and I think it was his brother-in-law, I can't remember, they went, and of course, one, as often was the case back then, even today, but especially back then, they had to have someone that was in law enforcement, So they went in this individual's, I think it was his grandfather? It doesn't say it here, that's why I'm like, who we stand with, went in the house, got the boy, young man, all right, and well, the rest is history, as you say, a sordid history, but history nonetheless, all right, and they beat that boy and tortured him and threw his body in the river, and as a result, that's why you came, that ghastly picture that everyone's familiar with when you think of Emmett Till, because his mother, and rightfully so, said, you know what, I want everybody to see what they did to my son. So it had an open casket, all right? So Biden, upon the passing of this bill, went into the story, told it, shared all the gory details, All right. But don't you have a feeling that even though he did this, he kind of like spit in our face because he knew, or he's hoping that these bills by these Republican executors, governors or such, these states, 15 states, that want to put a muzzle on teachers, all right, so they can't do anything to make so-called white people feel guilty about the past. Ain't that some shit? Well, yeah, that's exactly what's going on. All right. It says, though Biden's remarks about lynchings, I skipped the first few paragraphs, were 100% correct, it's likely that his comments could not be discussed in a classroom in any of the 15 Republican-controlled states that have implemented prohibitions on what they wrongly call critical race theory. See, this is the nature of this piece of shit. All right? He's supposed to be about truth and justice. All right? But that's nothing to him because, well, he's nothing, but unfortunately we're under this piece of shit. All right? As punishment. So he has the power to, however ridiculous it is, it's tantamount to, because he's over us, let's say he just, and these incidents like this have actually happened. Think about what the comment Donald Trump made when he was running for office. He said, I believe it was Times Square, he could shoot someone in Times Square with all these witnesses and get away with it. That's the mentality of these motherfuckers, all right? And they can cover it up because they're in power. And this is what Jake does not understand, by and large. All right? This is still this motherfucker's kingdom, not ours. So he can sign all these motherfucking pieces of legislation and all these amendments and all. It don't mean a fucking thing. He knows that. Majority of our people don't. So again, this is all just posturing on his part. They, like, so what? Point being, we need to get the fuck up out of this place. Micah 2 and 10. Hebrews 11th chapter. Hebrews 13th chapter. All right? Hebrews 11th chapter. Yeah, a lot of us, our eyes have been opened now and we realize, yeah, for the longest time, our people have fucked up. And we wish that we hadn't been exiled from our homeland, which is Israel. Yeah, we see now how fucked up. Yeah. Way too late, but yeah, that's what we want to get back to. Because everybody else is our enemy. Every other nation on this earth are our enemy. That's what we're trying to tell our people. All right? So as a result of our turning our backs on the Most High Yahweh, the laws, statutes, and commandments that were given to us as a people, as it says in Deuteronomy chapter 4, that we were supposed to be an example to the other nations, all right? But what do we do? All right? And as a result, everybody lords over us and looks at us like we're shit. But thankfully, the curses are being transferred over to our enemies. And the ones, the elite class over us, they see this and they're trying to put a stop. They're trying to offset prophecy, as it were. All right, because the prophecies, hell, you can't, they're happening. All right. So this guy, this piece of shit that the world refers to as the white man, he knows his time is short. So they're trying to get their new world order set up. All right. Anyway, it says these laws don't explicitly ban teachers from explaining that 2 white men savagely murdered Till, and that a jury of all white men came back with an acquittal in 67 minutes after having dragged the time out for a soda break to make it look good. See? We're at these devils' mercy. All right. Instead, these measures, like the one Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds, a Republican, signed last year, expressly prohibit teaching students about topics that will cause anyone, meaning them, to feel discomfort, guilt, anguish, or any other form of psychological distress because of their race. Yet, everything up into, including now, hasn't been with concern for our people's state of mind, our discomfort, our anguish, our psychological distress. That's scripture. This is Jeremiah 15:5. It says, "For who shall have pity upon thee, O Jerusalem? Or who shall bemoan thee? Or who shall go aside to ask how thou doest?" It's supposed to be rhetorical. Who shall bemoan? Strong's H5110. To shake, waver, wonder, move to and fro, flutter, show grief, have compassion on. Who? To lament, condole, show sympathy. Who? Pity. And they've even managed to convince some of our own people to feel sympathy for them motherfuckers over there in Ukraine, who will be the first one to come. I mean, they're way over there in Eastern Europe, and yet they can still call you nigger with a quickness. Why is that? And there wasn't even a warning for those stupid ass jakes that decided to volunteer. They even warned them, well, some of them just might call you a nigger and some other derogatory names. Just ignore it. You know, that's just them being them. Wow. Wow. Mm-mm-mm. The exact language is included in similar bills in other states, including Tennessee and Florida. By not explicitly defining what might cause white people to feel discomfort or guilt, the GOP's goal is to scare teachers into self-censoring. You know, I already see, you know, there's going to be a lot of teachers possibly losing their jobs, you know, because some are just going to say, you know, F this, you know. And it appears to be working. There have been dozens of articles about teachers across the nation deciding not to teach lessons that expose America's racism. In Florida, a school canceled a lecture on the history of the civil rights movement for fear it would violate the law. A teacher, see what they're doing? They're removing all the statues. And simple as Jake just clapping their hands. Yeah, we're finally moving forward. Yeah, they're not doing it for the reason that you think they're doing it, you fucking idiot. Damn. A teacher in New Hampshire decided not to teach about redlining policies that restricted where black Americans could buy homes. In Oklahoma, administrators instructed teachers not to mention diversity or white privilege. And one teacher in the state even feared making the obvious point that it was white people who defended slavery in the United States. And the list goes on of teachers who no longer believe they can facilitate robust discussions of American history. And that's what this is designed to do. Instill doubt in those that are trying to teach the truth, the facts. But you know what? If you got to go through all this to keep them from teaching these things, hopefully people will see through this shit. Again, Habakkuk 2 and 16. Shameful spewing. What? Shameful spewing. Got to you. Habakkuk 2 and 16. Shameful spewing on their glory. Thou art filled with shame for glory. All these facts, the evidence has come up for your wickedness. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Most High Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. Can't run from it. So you got to resort to shit like this. Teachers have every reason to be concerned. A Tennessee high school teacher was fired in 2021 for signing a Ta-Nehisi Coates essay about Donald Trump, provocatively titled "The First White President," and for showing a video of the spoken word poem "White Privilege." In New Hampshire and Oklahoma, the penalty for teaching the wrong thing can include being stripped of one's teaching license, which likely means the end of a career. The list goes on of teachers who no longer believe they can facilitate robust discussions of American history. In Florida, which effectively implemented a ban on teaching racially sensitive topics by regulation even before the new law was drafted, State Education Commissioner Richard Corcoran bragged last year, "I've censored or fired or terminated numerous teachers," adding, "There was an entire classroom memorialized to Black Lives Matter, and we made sure she was terminated." The GOP shows no signs of letting up in its efforts to whitewash American history. This should be a big-ass red flag. All right? You need to go and look at all that shit they've taught for generations. All right? Just 2 weeks ago in Mississippi, the state where Till was lynched, Republican Governor Tate Reeves signed a law that will effectively limit the discussion of race. When the law was being considered, the Mississippi Superintendent of Education stated that critical race theory, which it is not, these are facts, this is what you have done, all right, which lawmakers say they're against, is not even taught in the state schools. It's not. Nowhere in K through 12 is it taught. But the truth has these devils worried. This is beautiful, all right? But these GOP laws have nothing to do with critical race theory. These laws are about one thing: preserving white supremacy by ensuring that students don't learn the evils of it. I couldn't have said it better. The laws are about one thing: preserving white supremacy by ensuring that students don't learn the evils of it. I can drop the mic right there. That's what this is all the fuck about. These are the kind of people that you're dealing with. And our people march up and down these damn streets, petitioning the very people that have done these things to us, expecting a different result. That, by definition, as Einstein said, is crazy. Doing the same thing, and expecting a different result over and over and over again. Because you're depending on the wicked, this evil motherfucker that he is, to do you any kind of justice when there's no justice in him. Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. So, hopefully, once again, lynching is now a federal crime. Good luck teaching kids why. All right, and they're implementing all these, or trying to, all these methods, all right, by which to put a muzzle on teachers when it's not even slated to be taught in kindergarten through 12. All right, but they're so, I mean, the cat's out the bag. It's like, who doesn't know this by now? All right, how they fuck people over to get what they wanted. Rape, robbery, murder. and all those things in between. Just pure wickedness. Evil motherfuckers. Hey, so with that, Shalom.